Is that monitored up there new? Has that always been there?
It's always been there. Since I've been here. It's what I watch everyone on when we're doing council meeting. Watch myself. True. Everybody read it, except for read it back.
Call our meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, September 12th. This is the regular monthly meeting of the Austin City Planning Commission. We have a couple of items on our agenda for tonight, but before we do that, I'll ask the commissioners if you had a chance to look at the minutes from our last meeting dated Tuesday, August 15th. Any corrections, changes? If none, I'll ask for a motion.
I move that we accept them as written.
Motion to accept by Commissioner Mino.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Nelson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The first item on our agenda is an open public hearing to consider a request from Patrick Bradley, Grove Street LLC, to approve a CIC plat of its properties located at and near 113 2nd Avenue Northeast. Said action is pursuant to Austin City Code Section 13.10.
Mr. Bradley brought this petition on behalf of his company Grove Street LLC. He owns a property on Main Street and looks like I missed something on here. He owns property on near 113 2nd Avenue Northeast and Main Street. It's corner property. There is a overhead on the Elmo. The property is located in the B3 Central Business District. The areas surrounding it are also B3. The petitioner is requesting approval of a common interest community plat required by the city to be compliant with state building and fire codes. They removed a party wall between 111 and 113 2nd Avenue Northeast, which was the former Mickey's, to make the current bakery larger in size. The parties share a riser, which is the source of their sprinkler system, and in order to share that, they have to be treated as a condominium rather than as separate properties. So it would be great expense for them to add a second riser to add for the code requirements. So to, I guess, to mitigate that issue or resolve that issue, the property is now treated as essentially a condominium. It's been replatted so that the legal description includes, instead of individual lots, it includes that entire property. So if you look at your plat, there's a legal description of the outline of that property. And the interior properties are labeled as tracks 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the attached CIC declaration and agreement is basically dictated by state law. There's some terms that the owner of the property would choose in the common interest community agreement, but that's not really our main concern. Our main concern is just that the property be treated essentially as a condominium rather than as, again, as individual properties. So since that has been done, they are now compliant with our code, our building code, and our fire code. However, they still, because it's a plat, still needs approval by the Planning Commission and the City Council. And then, so if the plat is consistent with our requirements relating to code compliance, and should the Planning Commission recommend approval of the final plat, we recommend the following conditions: that the CIC declaration be executed and recorded with the plat as required, and that no changes to the plat are made that would result in any code violations. And basically, that just completes the process for making this a common interest community.
So what you're saying is the requirements have really been met at this point in time?
Yes, yes, yes. It just needs to be recorded now, and in order to record it, they need to have it approved by at public hearing.
Any questions from the commissioners? Okay. Well, hearing none, I'll ask for a motion and ask as a part of that to reference the condition or the conditions recommended by the staff.
Do we know whether anyone from the public wants to speak?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I actually happen to know that this person is here for our second matter, but she could have an interest.
I figured she was too, but thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, and I should mention, we typically don't send out notices for the plating, but I haven't gotten any communications from anybody about the property or, and this
So-
really doesn't impact.
I was going to say, are any needed to be aware, or that isn't really required?
No, it doesn't impact the surrounding properties.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the commission recommend approval of the plat, including the two recommendations of the staff.
Okay, I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Mino.
I'll second.
Have a second from Commissioner Burrows. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Our second item on the agenda is to consider an application from Jay Lutz, 1209 20th Street Northeast, Austin, Minnesota, for a 3-foot variance from the required 20-foot front yard setback pursuant to Austin City Code zoning section 11.30, subdivision 5A, for properties in an R1 residential district.
Okay. This property is located near the Nature Center to the east and south of the Nature's Ridge subdivision. The petitioner is Jay Lutz. The area is zoned R1 single-family residential. Every property surrounding that area is R1 single-family residential. The petitioner has requested a variance from Austin City Code section 11.30 subdivision 5A, which requires a 25-foot front yard setback in an R1 single-family district. The petitioner wishes to use, actually they want to do a remodel, or essentially an expansion of the kitchen, and that would take up a portion of their existing garage, which they would like to maintain that actual garage area as well. So they're proposing to add an addition onto the front of the garage. They do have space to the north. However, they have bedrooms located on this side of the house, and you're not going to pick the house up and move it over. The lot is on a corner, or kind of, yeah, on a corner here, and then has kind of an otter shape. The petitioner doesn't really have really any other space to add on to the garage, other than this area here. The variance would result in, the requested variance is 3 feet. The setback that's proposed is 22 feet. And it would not increase or cause any obstruction of traffic sight lines. The lot coverage would be 27.8%, which is under the 40% coverage limit. If the Planning Commission chose to recommend the approval of this requested variance, it should consider the variance requirements, which are that the variance is in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the zoning code, that the variance is consistent with the comprehensive plan, that the applicant has established that there are practical difficulties in complying with the provision, and that the property owner proposes to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the provision, and that the plight of the landowner is due to circumstances unique to the property and they're not created by the landowner. Variance will not permit any use that is not allowed in the zoning district, and the variance will not alter the essential character of the surrounding area. Let's see, so we're attached the aerial of the building site with the area proposed for the expansion that would impact the zoning code, and then the just its location citywide. Do you have any questions about how this particular variance might be impacted by the criteria that I listed?
Well, I rode out by there on my bicycle the other day. It looks like it, I see what you're trying to do, and I don't see anywhere it's gonna cause any issues with sightline or any obstructions, so, yeah, I thought it looked okay in that regard.
Did we hear anything from any neighbors or?
Yeah, in this instance, all the neighboring property owners were notified, and I did not receive any calls from anyone.
Any other questions? And this is an open public hearing, so if there's anybody here who wants to address the commissioners.
Right, and we do have someone here who could answer maybe more questions or more thoroughly if.
Questions. Part of the problem with our lot is the utilities have got a lot of underground going, crisscrossing on the back property there. So for us to do any building there, it makes it difficult.
Yeah, there is a utility easement here, basically the width of, I think it goes right up to the corner of the house.
Mm-hmm. And they have easement issues there too, for how close we can get. So.
And then this is also this front area, this is public right of way. So that there,
I guess the only question I have is, Holly, do you know the remaining length of the driveway? Is it still enough that a car won't fit in there without sticking over?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay.
Still got quite a bit to shovel.
it would be, this would be the length.
And
of
that's
it,
22 feet, I think, right?
right?
Okay, any other questions? Or either Holly or? Okay, hearing none, I guess we'll ask for a motion.
I would entertain a motion that we approve this variance request as presented and to include the staff recommendations.
Okay, we have a
Second.
we have a motion to approve. Mr. Postma, second. Mr. Mino. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Do you have anything else for us this evening?
I do not.
Okay.
Move we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.